What made you realize you married the wrong person? My husband became an alcoholic on our son's 13th birthday. He hadn't drank in 15 years, but handed him his present smelling like a brewery at 11 a.m. When our son Charlie said, "Dad, adults who smell like that scare me," Dad got this crazed look in his eye and snapped, "This is exactly my problem with you," before going upstairs to drink more. Later that day, while cutting cake with all of Charlie's friends, my husband had a flask in his hand. He insisted it was water, but he had that drunk smile and had to lean against one of Charlie's friends to not fall over. In bed that night, I asked him to explain why he was drinking. Explain what? I'm not even drinking. I slept on the couch. The next morning, I woke to the sound of him scolding our 11-year-old daughter. He had already gone through 2 beer bottles by 9 a.m. and was borderline screaming in her face. She kept trying to cover her nose, but he was forcefully holding them by her sides. "Mommy, help." I shot up like a hawk and physically pulled my husband away. But instead of arguing or explaining himself or anything, he simply went to the kitchen and sat down looking frustrated. Again, he denied being drunk. This time, however, I didn't accept it. I pressed him about why he was drinking, but for some reason, he simply refused to admit the obvious. Our kids started becoming scared of him. Their dad was always drunk and becoming a monster. He'd yell at them out of nowhere, fake lunge at them as if he was going to hit them. Just terrible stuff. All while insisting he never had a problem. When he crashed his car into our front door because he drove home drunk from work, I staged an intervention with his mother. During it, he again insisted that nothing was wrong and that he wasn't even drinking. I remember we asked if he hit his head recently or was experiencing hallucinations or something because we were genuinely worried, until he slapped his mom across the face for suggesting he was an alcoholic. He then emptied our daughter's piggy bank so he could go to the bar that night. I installed cameras with the intention of showing him proof, but before I could, I woke up to him throwing up on me. Not only that, I could also hear loud banging in the upstairs hallway happening at the same time. My husband passed out right after getting sick, and when I hesitantly went to check what the sound was, my heart froze. Some man I'd never seen before was knocking on our children's door. I screamed and ran to the bathroom, where I grabbed my pepper spray and went to use it on him. He screamed something about my husband made him do this, but I wasn't listening. After he fell to the floor, I called the police and had him arrested. I stayed awake the rest of the night waiting for my husband to wake up. I was downstairs barely holding it together at 7 a.m. when I heard my daughter screaming. I ran up and there I saw it. My husband was in our kids' room, pulling on my daughter's hair. Charlie looked like he was about to wet himself with fear, all while my husband had this disappointed look on his face. I only got him to let go after I threatened to call the police. I forced him downstairs, where we had the most infuriating talk of my life. We sat at the kitchen table littered with liquor bottles, where I begged him to tell me where my husband went. Not even 1 month ago, he was giving Charlie piggyback rides and twirling me in the kitchen while cooking dinner for us. I took his hand and pleaded with him to tell me why he's drinking. He looked at me with a straight face. "I'm not drinking. I have no idea what you're on about." I pulled up the security camera footage for him, clearly showing him drinking, and yet he somehow remained adamant that it was water. That was it. I decided to take matters into my own hands. I went out back and started dialing his old therapist's phone, but while the phone was ringing, I heard something screaming. Again, this time it was my son. Running up the stairs felt like deja vu. My daughter had already locked herself in the bathroom, and when I ran in, I saw my husband towering over Charlie's bed. He was curled in a fetal position under his blankets, sobbing, "Dad, please stop," while my husband wailed his fists. "What about now? Anything. You're pathetic," my husband kept repeating to Charlie. I remember seeing red soak through our son's blanket and instinctively jumping to put myself in between the bed and my husband, and just like that, the onslaught stopped. He muttered pathetic under his breath one last time and turned around to head downstairs. I locked the 3 of us into the bathroom and just held my kids. About an hour later, I heard a thud downstairs. I crept down to check and found my husband passed out. I decided I couldn't live like this. My kids were in danger. I called the police as well as the ambulance, and despite the fact my husband was unconscious, they still sent him away. He woke up in the hospital bed, where he was greeted by an officer telling him I am pressing charges. What's strange is that while in court, he admitted to drinking. He didn't deny it. He didn't fight the case, just pled guilty and took the 5 years for child endangerment and assault. The day he was sentenced, I remember being more confused than anything. I called him during his first week there, begging him to tell me why, and he finally did. Our kids were too soft according to him, and having a drunk, unstable, and abusive dad would whip them into shape. My dad drank, and it made me tough, and his dad drank too. "Someday them boys will look back and thank me," he said. He then chuckled about how great of a dad he is, sacrificing 5 years of his life so his kids can grow up tough. I hung up and never spoke to him again. It's been 20 years, and last I heard he still thinks he was right.